But we also had a triple header of Game 3s yesterday around the association in the NBA playoffs. And Denver's dominance over the Los Angeles Lakers continues, whether it's in the Mile High City or in L.A. If the Nuggets are playing the Lakers, at least in the last 2 years, Denver is going to win. Make it 11 straight victories, DRS, for the Nugs over the Lakers, down by 4 at the break last night. Denver does what it has done each and every time in this playoff series. They have come back. They outscore the Lakers in the second half, and the Nuggets take a commanding 3-0 series lead over L.A. with a 112-105 victory in game number 3. Denver closed as a slight underdog. It was a pick'em pretty much for the entirety of the day. And you said, listen, if it's the Nuggets and the Lakers and Denver is a pick'em price, I'm picking them to win. The Nuggets did just that.
Yeah, there's no price available at this point that you would say to yourself, boy, I just don't want to take the Denver Nuggets against the Los Angeles Lakers. And it's pretty simple. Why? They can't beat them. Like recency bias, I don't know, maybe that goes back 2 or 3 games, over 10 games to a dozen games. No, that just means the team has a perfect matchup on a night-to-night basis. And also, let's remind ourselves, this isn't as if, Ben, we're taking a look and saying to the Denver Nuggets, well, okay, they go wire to wire every game. The Lakers can't even take the Lakers had a 20-point lead in game number 2, a 12-point lead in game number 3, which included a double-digit lead at the end of the first quarter and a lead at the break. And you are at home in what I always like to call a kitchen sink game, which means you lose this game. There's no more time, basically, for you to come back and win that series unless you pull a miracle. So you figure the Lakers were once again in prime position. And you take a look at Anthony Davis, 43 minutes, 14 of 23 from the floor, 33 points. LeBron James, 42 minutes, 12 of 20 from the floor, 26 points, chips in with 9 assists and 6 rebounds. You are supposed to win those basketball games. But maybe you can't because every night Nikola Jokic gives you an MVP performance and everybody fits perfectly with the pieces to the puzzle for Denver. They won it last year, maybe by surprise. They're not surprising anybody this year. And I don't think it's either a surprise, Ben, that we're looking at this as a possible sweep again. Why? They always beat the Lakers.
AD and LeBron stepped up in a must-win, can't-lose game number 3 now in Los Angeles. By the way, Denver closed as a slight underdog, just the 11th time this year for the Nugs as a dog, 5-6 outright. Denver has beaten the Lakers 11 consecutive times. They swept them last year in the Western Conference Finals. Now a 3-0 series lead here in round number 1 of the 2024 NBA postseason. Also 4 victories in the regular season over the past 2 years against Los Angeles. Make that 11 straight for Denver over L.A. So despite Anthony Davis and LeBron James putting up big numbers last night, when you have 4 of 5 starters for Denver score 20-plus, Nikola Jokic with 24 points, 15 boards, and 9 dimes. But it was actually Aaron Gordon with a team-high 29 points, also added in a double-double. There's very little, it seems, the Lakers can do. And to your point, Donnie, the Lakers have had a double-digit lead in all 3 of these games. They were up by 10 at the end of the first quarter. Shout out to our guy, JY, who will be on the early line on this Friday, recapping everything. He said his play for this game was rather simple. Pick 'em price at the start, leave it alone. At the break, if the Lakers are up, take the Nuggets as an underdog, and it comes through once again. Denver down by 4 at the half. They went outright 112-105. By the way, total last night closed at 217 a hook, so it stays under by that hook. All 3 games in this opening round series between Denver and Los Angeles have stayed under.
And by the way, just demoralizing for the Lakers, I think, is the key. Sometimes you're just getting beat by a better basketball team. It's like, hey, we just didn't have a shot. They were way more talented. That's not the case here, where the Lakers having leads in every single game, which included they probably should have, won game number 2. That was an epic collapse down the stretch. So you figured, how would they come out? What was that first quarter going to be? And it's perfect. You're up double digits. The vibes are good in the building. Hey, we can win this game and get back into the series. And as that game went on, you saw the better basketball team once again, the Denver Nuggets, just employ their will over the Los Angeles Lakers. A win and a cover there. And once again, no surprise. So when Game 4 comes up and we handicap this and say, you know what, who do you think is going to win? No handicap. It's Denver at whatever price you want.
So that's now the conversation because Denver swept the Lakers last year in the Western Conference Finals. The odds makers expect another sweep for the Lakers at the hands of the Nuggets. It's nearly $1.50 favorite. For Denver to sweep this series, 4 games to none, is minus 148. In DRS, I don't know how you could question that price at this moment. Game number 4, Saturday night at Crypto.com Arena in L.A. Again, Denver closed as a very slight underdog last night for game number 3 in the City of Angels. No longer the case. 3-point favorite for the game. In fact, the money line price as of this moment is Denver at -154. It's frankly a better number, a stronger price than the -148 for Denver to sweep.
Right.
It is difficult to sweep teams in the postseason. It is incredibly difficult to sweep a team that contains LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But I can't question Denver in this moment. I think the Nuggets do just that on Saturday night. They have the Lakers number for whatever it is, and the vibes around this situation, I don't expect to change in a couple of days.
No, there should be a change in a couple of days. And also, when you're trying to have fun, I love conspiracy theories. They want to make this a longer series. No, they don't, apparently, because the Denver Nuggets are too good for that script that the NBA might be writing at this point. But again, it is a little bit facetious. But that graphic that came up there, I'm telling you right now, though, it's so enticing to say to yourself that this is going 5 at a plus 175 price. Like, hey, Lakers, hey, LeBron James. And I talked about this yesterday on Moneyline with Kevin.
Yeah.
LeBron doesn't have any legacy games yet. He played too many of them. There's no more legacy left for him. But you certainly don't want to go out and say, hey, we tried in L.A. Well, what did you do of your final years? Swept out twice by the Denver Nuggets here. Now, granted, if the Denver Nuggets go on and win an NBA championship, you say, hey, look, that was the champions and they swept us out. But is there pride on the line, or is it LeBron James going like, why are we going back to Denver? Like, let me just start my offseason right now. I can rest and get prepped because we're not going to win this anyway. That price point at 5 games is really intriguing to me, though.
Start getting Bronny ready for the 2024 NBA draft. I'm not so sure, but I think it's a great point, DRS, because you would have the Nuggets as a home favorite of probably 7.5, 8 points for what would be a game number 5 in the gentleman's sweep. And if the Lakers take one at home, okay, I don't expect them to go in the Mile High City and steal one from the Nuggets. So you would have Denver at a plus 175 price, which is a money line underdog number for the Nugs in Game 5, and they would be probably at least a 7-point home floor favorite. Not only is Denver, DRS, minus 20,000 to win this series outright, and minus 148 or minus 154 for the Game 4 money line to pull off the sweep for a second consecutive postseason over the Los Angeles Lakers. Denver now, because of what they have done here in the opening round of the NBA playoffs, has flipped to minus money to win the Western Conference. Minus 130 now for Denver to win the Western Conference championship. They are in front of the Oklahoma City Thunder at plus 440. But the intriguing thing is we forecast the future here of this NBA playoffs, unlike a season ago when Denver won the West and, of course, the NBA championship, the Nuggets were the number 1 seed. This year, they would not have home court advantage in a Western Conference Finals if it is against Oklahoma City as OKC, the top seed in the Western Conference.
You're right about that, and it's a good point you bring up, because if you are the best team in your conference and you say just handle your business at home, which a major home court advantage is for the Denver Nuggets being in elevation, yes, they should be the favorite. But I still get back to that same point. If it's the Celtics that we think is a great team in the East, and yes, they are, and I do think they make it to the NBA Finals, and the same thing with the Denver Nuggets, but still price point comes into it. And even though I keep getting slapped in the head by going, you keep talking about price point. Did you watch, like, who's winning? Scotty Scheffler every single week. Did you watch who won the NCAA tournament at UConn with a cheap price? So not just take the cheap price, but still, the West is a gauntlet. To not even have plus money in that gauntlet in the West, I can't deal with that right now.
Plus 210 right now for Denver, by the way. Now less than $1 behind the Boston Celtics. We looked at those odds yesterday. It was about $1 and some change separating the top 2, but it is very clearly those top 2 for the odds makers. Denver out of the West, and Boston, despite being tied at 1-1 against Miami, out of the Eastern Conference. Speaking of the East, Philly gets a win in game number 3. Donnie's cheering. More on the early line now. Triples are best. 3 game threes yesterday around the association in the NBA playoffs. Denver's dominance over LA continues. The Nuggets take a 3-0 series lead in the opening round of the Western Conference playoffs. But the first 2 games up yesterday on a Thursday evening were out in the Eastern Conference, including a change of venue to Philadelphia for the first time. Must win, can't lose. When you're down 0-2 returning home, and Philadelphia did win and did not lose. The 76ers, 125-114. The victory over the New York Knicks. Philly was booked as a 5-point home favorite. They cover that number. A total that dropped, which was weird to us, DRS, from the opening 2 games of this series down to 204 at close. Skies way over the number. And Joel Embiid, despite the sore knee, despite dealing with a minor case of Bell's palsy, which is slight paralysis in his face, goes off for a 50-piece, a 50-point performance out of JoJo, including 5 triples, as the Philadelphia 76ers get an 11-point victory, a game they must have had, and they got last night in the city of brotherly love.
It's such an odd series because you're supposed to be looking at your superstar players and seeing how they're actually doing. Now, Joel Embiid is on a different planet right now. You tell me a guy that came back from knee surgery, Bell palsy in the face, must-win situation at home. Yeah, let me drop a 50 spot, which also including a couple of hard fouls early in that game for Joel Embiid, which might have had him looking at a couple flagrants and an ejection here, which didn't happen, and we always want to see the players play out. But if you're a Knicks fan and backer, you probably want to see Joel Embiid gone from that game in the first quarter. But let's get things straight here. The first 2 games, I kept talking about Jalen Brunson. Mm-hmm. Yes, he was scoring some points here, but not efficient at all. So you're saying, how are they 2-0 in this series? What is going to happen when Jalen Brunson gives us his MVP performances like we saw so many times this season? How about 39 points, 13 assists, 13 of 27 from the floor? And the New York Knicks lost that basketball game. Right. It's incredible. Now, some things transpired in the first quarter I do think make a difference here. The one thing that you can always feed off of, Jalen Brunson's going to get to the rim. He's going to kick it out for 3-point shots. You also saw guys like Josh Hart last night go 4 from 8 from 3-point range. But the big 3-point shooter, affectionately known as Dante DiVincenzo, he winds up going 0 for 3 from 3-point range, 2 of 7 from the floor, and only 5 points. Now, if you watch that game early in the first quarter, he goes up for a layup, gets whacked in the side of the head, and gets cut basically right next to his eye. And anybody who's played any sports at any time, once you get hit in the eye, you get a facial cut, a facial fracture. It throws everything off in your game. So a lot of things didn't go the Knicks' way early on, which includes some of the fouls that Joel Embiid was causing. But having said that again, the Sixers needed this game, just like the Los Angeles Lakers. They leaned on their superstar to do something historic, like dropping 50 points in a game number 3. They got this win, and this series, as we always thought, was going to be maybe the best one and go 6 to at least 7 games here.
And some were not pleased with Joel Embiid with what looked like a trip of sorts to Mitchell Robinson, and Robinson had to exit the game, and Embiid stayed in, but when he did, he took advantage of it. Again, a 50-point performance in game number 3 against the New York Knicks. 18 of those points, DRS, coming in the third quarter, second most for JoJo in his NBA playoff career in a single quarter. And that third quarter was the key because Philly was down by 3 at the break to the New York Knicks. And then they just laid it on the Knickerbockers in that third quarter, outscoring New York by 16 points, winning the third 43-27, and never looked back. Philly, as a team, hit 9 threes in that third quarter. And you saw it there, 19 of 21 from the charity stripe for Joel Embiid, an efficient 13 of 19 from the floor, including 5 made threes. Philly now, as a home favorite this year, 22-12 against the spread. And as we change our odds outlook of this series, it's still 2-1. The New York Knicks have that series advantage, but both of these teams had held serve on their home floor. The Knicks still a favorite at minus 235 to win this series outright, but that price was closer to a minus 500 number entering Game 3 last night.
Yeah, we talked about all those prices, too. And forget about just the series price itself, Ben. You take a look at the Eastern Conference odds and the NBA title odds. And we told you yesterday, if you think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to win this game tonight, which was game number 3, you better get those odds now because they're going to start to shrink. And, of course, the Philadelphia 76ers won. The Sixers are still healthy right now, and that price is going to shrink because the prices yesterday were built in saying, like, nobody comes back from 0-2 because when you're down 0-2, it's a great chance, Ben, what? You'll be down 0-3 in the series. That didn't happen now. Series on Sunday, 1 o'clock will be the next matchup. But now this series turns into what we actually thought it was going to be. Forget about if the Sixers got robbed in Game 2 or Joel Embiid's foul should have tossed him out. Let's call it a draw now. Yeah. Now we're even up on the board with the refs. Clean slate all the way through. Sixers, if they can pick up that victory on Sunday afternoon to tie that at 2, watch out. Those prices again, dipping right back down.
Spoken like a true Sixers fan right there. But Philadelphia, I think, with a victory in Game 4, even in the series at 2 games apiece, still in a best of 3 then with Madison Square Garden being home floor advantage for New York. I still think the 76ers will be a slight outright favorite. I've got a couple of thoughts on those series prices in just a moment, but I do want to make this point for game number 4 Sunday afternoon, as you mentioned, at the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Philly is a 5-point home favorite. Same exact line as game number 3. Covered that number. Again, 22-12. ATS as a home favorite this year. One of the best covering numbers at home as a favorite around the NBA. The total, though, dropped. It was 204 last night. Sky's over. What is the number now? Up by 4 points. The reaction from the odds makers. The over-under for Sunday's Game 4 listed at 208. So, I wanted to bet Philadelphia to win this series outright yesterday, expecting them to win game number 3, knowing the market was going to shorten on their price as the series underdog. I was about to bet the plus 186 outright number before we started here on this Friday on the early line. But here's one of my favorite things about series prices as the odds makers lay them out. There are discrepancies in the marketplace where you can find value based on how you think a series plays out. And, Donnie, Philadelphia has 2 ways of winning this. In 6 or in 7. Philly to win in 6, plus 410. Philly to win in 7, plus 480. So instead of the plus 186, I put a little bit of both, a half unit on both.
Yeah.
And I love those prices because it's the 2 potentials for Philadelphia.
And also good ways to hedge out of those as well, getting that good of a price point here where you take a look at the Philadelphia 76ers to win in 7, but you still think the Knicks will win that game. You could do some things as well. But I like this going forward. I just hope we don't have any true injuries here on out, which me as a Sixers fan, you're always worried about the big guy Joel Embiid, where, again, he scored 50 points and he's having, stress in his face here where he can't. It's unbelievable what he goes through with himself. Just hope he's healthy all the way through, but a big-time win and easily, Ben. Looking at that total, Sunday goes up to 208. Yeah. Give me the over again. I can't believe we're pricing these under 210.
Still think it's too small. Great call on Brunson, by the way. 39 points, over 28.5, 13 of 27 from the floor. We go to Orlando up next. Our third and final game 3 to break down from last night's slate on a Thursday around the association was the first game of the evening in Orlando. DRS, all 3 scenarios last night. The road team had a 2-0 series lead, holding serve on home floor in the opening 2 games of the opening round of the NBA playoffs. So it was a must-win situation for all home teams back on their home floor last night. The Lakers, nope. They've lost 11 straight to the Denver Nuggets. Philadelphia, yes, covering as a 5-point home favorite, winning by double digits against the New York Knicks. And the question for the Orlando Magic, this young team there in Florida, also the answer was yes. Orlando winning big against Cleveland last night, nearly by 40 points. And finally, some offense for Orlando, who in the opening 2 games in the land had not scored more than 86 points. They're the first team in this series to break through the century mark with 121. 121-83, the victory for the Magic over the Cavaliers. Orlando covers as a 2.5-point home favorite, and a total that worked its way up to 201.5. Yeah. Does go over, but because Orlando scored 121, Cleveland did not add much with only 83.
I like the under in this game, too. And I saw that final score, and you see the 121, like, oh, that's a wrap. But then you see the 83, you start doing the math in your head, like, oh, no, just misses by a fraction here. But also, Orlando back into the series, and Ben, quite frankly, this probably is what's supposed to happen. Cleveland wasn't spectacular this season, particularly on the road. They were actually over 500 at 22-19 overall. But when you take a look at Orlando, the one thing that we were updating on a day-to-day basis was this is a young team, but you know what? They play really well at home, and they cover point spreads here. Yeah. Now, did we see a win that was close to 40 points? Not necessarily at all. I actually thought Cleveland should have been the play last night again because I was just so uninspired from what I saw over the first 2 games from the Orlando Magic. But credit the young guys for bouncing back. Paulo Banchero in a big spot, 13 of 26 from the floor, 31 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists for a plus 28. When you're just looking at the starters between the 2 ball clubs here, it was clear Orlando was the better team right off the jump and smash. They never gave a chance for the Cleveland Cavaliers to get back into this basketball game. That's a great sign for a young team trying to win.
Again, the first time in this series, a team has scored 100 points or more. Orlando does so with 121. The losing team in each of these 3 games to start off this opening set in the NBA playoffs has not scored more than 86 points. Offense for the losing team has been at a premium, but the Magic were the best cover team in the association all year long. The best cover team as a home favorite in the NBA as well. Now 20-6 against the spread at home, led by Paulo Banchero last night in the 31 points for the reigning NBA Rookie of the Year. So we do go over 201.5 slightly. The home team in this series, has covered every game as well, booked as a favorite. Cleveland winning by double digits in both in the land. Orlando by nearly 40 points last night. Nobody for the Cavaliers, DRS, scored more than 15 again, offense has been hard to come by in this series. Does it change your outlook on the odds for this opening round set at all?
It does, because one of the teams that I took in a parlay here at the FanDuel Sportsbook was included to have a win in the series by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I still think that's going to happen, but we do live in a day-to-day society where you show me what you did, and that's how I'll look forward to it. What have you seen last? And what I saw last was Orlando is really back in this series in a big way. And that graphic that was posted up there, and I agree with it now. Game 6 plus 165, Game 7 plus 165. It's going 6 or 7. It really is.
Orlando's team total yesterday, 103.5. That does go over, obviously, in a big way. This will be the first game tomorrow of the set that we have on a Saturday. 4 games, a quadruple header in the NBA postseason tomorrow. And the numbers, the exact same for Game 4 as they were for Game 3. Orlando, 2.5-point home favorite, total at 201 and a hook. You going to go under tomorrow?
Well, I got to stick to the plan, because if teams are still scoring around 80 points a game on one side, sooner or later they're going to slow. Again, 121 on one side, you almost got that under, which was around 200. Yeah, I'm going under. I'm going under the entire series.
Yeah, why not?
Every game.
You had a team score 121 points, and the total went over by 2.5 points because the other team only scored 83. Now, Cleveland, as the odds makers just showed you, still very much in command of this series. 2-1 series advantage, home floor advantage, plus 190 for Cleveland. It's the shortest correct score available in that market for the Cavaliers to win in 5 games. That's 4 games to 1, and Cleveland a minus 375 favorite outright to win this series. So, 3 games in the NBA playoffs last night. 3 more on this Friday, another triple header. 4 games tomorrow. So much NBA playoff basketball to break down.